Ohio State just keeps on rolling, and we've got other recruiting news, decommitments, transfer portal. Dylan Edwards, let's talk college football.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
To the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day, right here on the #1 sports broadcasting network in the country. The Portal Podcast is a part of the Locked On Network, and we're so broad, NBA, NHL, anything you can imagine. We are #1, and we appreciate you stopping in to check out everything. First off today, Ohio State. That team just seems to consistently add to the recruiting class. We're going to talk about that. They got another defensive lineman. We're going to get into Miami possibly getting 2 recruits this week. We're also going to talk about the transfer portal. We're going to end with that. Dylan Edwards is going to be in the portal. What does that mean? How does it influence so many people around the country? Because once one player like that gets in, a lot of other people that are, they're probably going to make a notice of what's happened, and they're going to get into there's several guys I know firsthand that are on that edge. It's just a matter of when they announce. We're going to talk about the transfer portal a lot more today right here on the Portal Podcast. But first, Ohio State and the commitments in general, Iowa, Minnesota, several other schools. I want to run through it. Then I'm going to talk about the Buckeyes and why their class is impressive and why it's important to recruit defensive line the way they are. So number one here, Emmanuel Ruffin. He's out of Bessemer City in Alabama. It's in Bessemer, Alabama, not that far from Mobile. Big body guy. It's another D tackle. They had, depending on how you want to rank it, 4 different defensive linemen that can play on the interior in some capacity in this class. Ruffin's 295 pounds. He's a kid that Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, those kinds of programs are going to go after. And he's taking his talents all the way north to Columbus, Ohio. The rich get richer here. This is a top 200 player by just about any metric. And for the record, 24/7 has him as a player that's ranked number 123 in the country. If Ohio State continues to get some of the kids in the north like they normally do, get a California kid like Wilder, who I think is as good a defensive tackle recruit as there is in the country, and they supplement it with guys like Ruffin, it's going to be really hard to beat the Buckeyes in years to come. Like, I think they're the best team this year. I don't see that really changing a whole lot. Talking about recruits that make a difference, J.J. Dunnigan. This is an athlete. I don't know if he'll end up at safety, nickel, or corner. 24/7 has him listed as a corner, 6'2", 190 pounds, give or take. He's out of Manhattan, Kansas, which is where K-State's at. He was committed to Kansas. Now he has flipped his commitment to the Miami Hurricanes. They're starting to play better on defense this year, obviously, compared to last year. This is a big pickup for Cristobal and his staff. Finding guys with this much length and athleticism is not easy. I took notice of Dunnigan at the Under Armour All-American practices last year. I'm like, who is that guy? Then I went and talked to him, great kid. And I'm like, he's just a random guy. Like, he's got family ties, I believe, to K-State. His dad, I think, played there. But like the way he moves, you think of somebody that plays center field in baseball and just runs the alleys and chases down what would otherwise be doubles. He takes them away. That's what he could be as a free safety, and he could be a big corner for him too. That'll take care of itself, but that's a really good player. Hudson Altman, defensive lineman from the greater Columbus, Ohio area. He's going to Michigan State. West Virginia gets Mekhi Boone out of St. Edward, one of the better programs up in the northern part of Ohio, in Lakewood on the edge of Cleveland. There's some other commitments, but I also want to bring up something else that's very, very important here. Iowa and Minnesota and some of these schools, they're doing a good job, not just finding guys that everybody wants. You have to win different ways. Some of these schools kind of go under the radar with what they've done. Like Minnesota, Derek Saley, a wide receiver, 6'4", 210. He's a junior college kid. Give props to Minnesota. They got him, and they also got KJ Henson, another junior college kid, a defensive lineman, 290-pounder. Same deal. Hutchinson, junior college, out in Kansas. This is smart recruiting. It's hard to get a lot of elite kids to go to Minnesota. Good job by them. And then Traden Bessinger, rival of Minnesota. He's headed to Iowa, quarterback. What do I know is Iowa could use some better quarterback play. He's a good player out of the state of Utah. He's got some size, 6'4", 210. Be nice to see Iowa be able to throw the ball around. So there are some interesting commitments, but we're not done there. It's the other side of the coin we always have to talk about a little bit. Alfred Washington is decommitting from Marshall. Sounds like it's going to be Illinois. He's an offensive tackle. That's another junior college kid. Northeast Mississippi Community College. I went and watched his film today. That's a good athlete. If he ends up at Illinois, that's going to be a big pickup for Brett Bielema. Congrats to him. These little things that we don't talk about enough, like the linemen, they don't get a lot of press in recruiting. But when it comes to the portal, the linemen are the ones that are the shortest number of. Illinois smart, Minnesota smart, etc. Find a JUCO kid, it's the same thing. He's got a couple of years of eligibility, and that new rule because of Diego Pavia suing for it, they're going to get at least one more year extra anyway. So you get 5 years to play if you go to JUCO Bowl. So I like these pickups for the JUCO kids, and I think it's good. DeAnthony Lafayette was a kid from Lake Nona High School in Orlando that went to LSU. He's decommitted. It sounds like he's also going to end up at Miami. Maybe it doesn't end up being there, but I think that's where he's going to go. Javian Raymond, a kid out of Monterey, Lubbock, Texas, a defensive lineman, also decommitted from Utah. That's of note. And then just on the portal side here, real quick, again, I'm going to get into this more, but I want to mention it. Dylan Edwards is supposed to get into the portal for Kansas State. That is an electric athlete. I've seen that kid run live right in front of me. That is different. He's sub 4.4. He can make guys miss in space. I think he is where the dam breaks. We're going to see some other big names this week. And as we kind of roll on here, just overall theme with these teams, pay particular attention to defensive linemen. I've also been just tipped off right before I went live today about another defensive lineman that was committed to Penn State that's going to flip to another school. I'm going to let the young man do it. Watch where the defensive linemen go. Watch where the offensive linemen go down the stretch. It is very, very important. If they can do that, any of these schools that, like, let's just say are on the fringe, Missouri, Miami, BYU, Texas Tech again, the schools that are knocking on the door to get in the playoff are barely in right now. Moving forward, if they can just add a couple more linemen, they will assure themselves of getting in future years. That's the difference. Miami, like, they're taking hits right now because of their ranking and how they played recently. They haven't taken a backseat in recruiting. Give them credit. By the way, Miami staff does a tremendous job. I think they're a school to watch down the stretch. December 3rd is National Signing Day. Do not be surprised if Miami ends up in that top 5 to 8 range because they're plowing through. That's how you win in the long game. You have to do that. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the decommitments, the commitments, all the things that are going on. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready, whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for hosting all those holiday affairs. Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make more out of your space and make it shine. And what's the best part? You don't even have to wait until Black Friday. You can get out up front up. You don't have to go out in all those crowds. Wayfair's Black Friday sale is all month long, and on certain items, it's up to 70% off. Everything from sofas to spatulas. So if you need coasters, if you need pillows, if you need a rug, if you need something at all to help decorate your home, check out Wayfair. Don't miss out on the early Black Friday deals. Again, you don't have to go out in those crowds. Head to wayfair.com and shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale up to 70% off. Wayfair.com. The sale will be done on the December 7th date. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. The portal is starting to get rolling, and I want to talk about that in addition to the high school ranks. There's a really key part that we're getting ready to talk about. I intentionally brought up watch the linemen in the last part of the show as we get closer to signing day. 100%, that is true. But are there going to be any teams that don't go all in on recruiting, save some of their NIL, and then they take that money. There's only one portal window. I want to say this on every show. January the 2nd through January 16th. Do you use your money accordingly and spend there? Because you have no ability to have another window open. Now, you can still sign kids after spring ball, but there won't be much left. It'll be slim pickings. Are you going to make all your push in with your chips at the table in January? If you don't go all in this last week or so, that really get some kids scheduled for visits and then sign them December 3rd, trying to add anybody, flip them, you're guessing a little bit with the portal. We're going to find out who's good at evaluating their own roster first. Got to assess your needs. Then second, go out and get players that fit your program before you go through the spring window in terms of practice. It's hard. Let me give you an example of a team that does a tremendous job of it. And they're another that's on the cusp of being a playoff team. This year they got hit with the injury bug and it killed them. That's Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz and his staff, they went out and got Hardy, great running back. They go out and they get a stud defensive end and Damon Wilson from Georgia. They said, come on down. Georgia didn't want to pay him. Missouri did. He's a great player. I think he will be done after this year, going to head the NFL. They've got several guys in their secondary Catalan. They've got guys at receiver. They don't miss much. I don't know what their magic elixir is, but any team that's on that cusp, if you can do those things, you have a chance to make the playoff. Unfortunately for Missouri, they didn't have one quarterback injury. They've had two, and now they're down to a true freshman. That doesn't usually work in any league, let alone the SEC. They need a little better luck. But teams that try to win in the portal, there are a lot. Very few do as well as Missouri. They're going to be a case study for me over the next several months as we get closer to spring ball. And they didn't go all in on recruiting. I thought it was a little off. I was a little concerned about them this offseason because they invested more in the portal. Most teams don't do well to do that. Ole Miss is kind of the one in particular. I'm like, I trust Kiffin with the portal. He's fine. But I wasn't sure about anybody else. Missouri is now in that category too. Is there going to be anybody else? Will there be any team that figures it out the way that Missouri did and the way that Ole Miss traditionally does? Now, you can say, oh, Brian, what about Texas Tech? You can include them too, but they really spent, like they overspent for players, and they kind of bought their rush. So I don't know how you grade that, but I will give the Red Raiders credit in the following category. They got kids there, and they got them to buy in. It's one thing to get the players. It's quite another to get them to buy into the team concept and be good. They didn't beat BYU this weekend. They took their soul. They just sucked the life out of them. 29-7. BYU's a good football team. They crushed them, and it was up front. They couldn't block them. They just took their soul. They just sucked it right out of them. It was over by halftime. The portal. Both defensive ends. Lee Hunter at D-tackle. Good guy, by the way. They got those guys in the portal. They made it happen. And to be honest with you, Texas Tech's not somebody I'd want to play in the playoff. Now, here's my next question. Who am I missing? What league have I not talked about at all today besides one school, and that's Miami? The ACC. I actually just did a show with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono on Locked On ACC. And I asked them this question, and I'm going to ask everybody here the same. Which teams outside of Louisville, Florida State, and Miami, which habitually invest in the portal, which teams in the ACC did so broadly? Now, I know there's Mensa at Duke. Got it. Chandler Morris over at Virginia. Good player. And they both sprinkled in some players here and there. But which ACC teams that had any kind of a roster, any kind of semblance of staff, consistency, like I understand North Carolina went and got a bunch of guys, but they didn't get a lot of studs. And it's a new cycle at UNC and Chapel Hill. Throw them to the side. Which teams really invested? NC State, Wake Forest. Did Virginia really invest? Did Syracuse invest? Did Boston College invest? Stanford, Cal? Nobody did out of those. SMU to a certain degree, they're the one that I'm really watching. But that's a league moving forward that it needs to figure it out, because if not SMU, I'm telling you now, they're my pick to win the ACC next year. They just totally screwed up the league when they beat Miami. Because now that league is like, are we going to have anybody? It's not out of the realm. The ACC doesn't get in. It's unlikely, but it's the 5 best leagues. It's not guaranteed for the ACC. You just figured it would be. But at the same time, probably Duke, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe it's Georgia Tech. I don't know. But that league's struggling. Somebody not named SMU needs to invest that actually has a head coach that knows what he's doing. Yes, I'm taking a shot at Mike Norvell because I run Locked On Seminoles as well. Somebody in that league needs to figure out the NIL thing, invest in their program at head coach and the portal, not one or the other, both, because these teams like Missouri, they got that SEC moniker on the jersey, on the hoodies, on the hats, on the t-shirts. It's harder. You're going to have to spend more while you're in the ACC, whether you like it or not, or SMU is going to take it over. How ironic, a team in Dallas might. I don't trust Miami with Cristobal. They're going to win some. They're doing good with recruiting, but he's got to prove it. Louisville just got beat by Cal. Come on, man. Come on, man. Cal at home? At home? I don't understand that. That Brahm's a very good coach, but one game a year, every year, they just get beat by somebody. You're like, really? Did that really just happen? And then on top of that, here's the other big part. I still don't even have an inkling. I don't have a lead on another ACC team. Outside of those 3, Louisville, Florida State, and Miami that invest, that are traditional ACC teams that I think are headed in the right direction. It's the newbie. It's SMU. Who is going to join that fray? And I'll get into the Mike Norvell comments later this week. I have some thoughts I want to share there after I find out more, and I'll probably share quite a bit of that on Locked On Seminoles throughout the week too, but I think that's part of it. We're going to see a really big shakeup in that league, and it's wild. When we come back, though, I have a question for everybody I'm going to ask now. I want you to think about it over the break. If you could get somebody that is not a lineman, like linemen are the premium in the portal, let's throw those to the side. Which position do you want and why? If it can't be an offensive or defensive lineman, okay, let's throw quarterback out too. Those are the 3 spots everybody talks about in the portal because they're the hardest to get. Which position do you want? Why is it that you want that player? Is it because of the school you root for, they need it, or is it a guy you always need one at that spot? That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, where the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game, or if you just want to ride the hot hand on the game that you're watching, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to those fourth quarter comebacks that are always fun to watch. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a bit bigger shot at some serious cash. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making a run late in the game in the fourth quarter. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. All you got to do is head over to FanDuel.com, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So what position would you go with? No quarterback, no O-line, no D-line. If you could only take one spot in your team, whatever school you root for, I don't care which one it is. It could be USC, it could be Michigan, it could be Tennessee, it could be anybody. What spot is it and why? For me, it's usually corner, but it's not necessarily an easy fit. Sometimes there will be corners that are good, maybe not. Beyond that, I'm going to get really specific. It's not wide receiver, it's boundary wide receiver. And for those who don't know, what does that mean? That is the guy that plays closest to the offensive tackle on the short side of the field, but it's usually a big-bodied guy, and it's about measurables. 6'3", 210, maybe bigger. Something like Malachi Fields who went from Virginia to Notre Dame this year. He's 6'4", 220, 225. Players like that change the game metrically. Do we have somebody to guard that? How many 6'2 plus guys weigh 210 or more in college football play corner? 2 maybe? When you can find a boundary receiver, that's the spot that I would look at because they change games, not just catching the ball, but their red zone threats specifically. And in the run game, you got almost a tight end on the field to block. It changes how defenses guard you. But what do you think? Could be something else. Could it be a running back? Look at Hardy at Missouri. That guy is, holy cow, he's an animal. And to that end, something I brought up at the beginning of the show, Dylan Edwards from Kansas State is going to get in. That's the other thing. It's the versatile running back, not just running back, but guys that can catch, guys that can block, guys that can play in the slot. Maybe they can be return guys. The all-encompassing running back is a big fan from this guy right here. Dylan Edwards is somebody, he's not going to be at Kansas State. He's left the team. He's going to play for somebody else next year. How good is he going to be? I don't know. Depends on where he goes and how they use him. Really hard to say. Maybe he goes to SMU. I just talked about them. I'm telling you now, SMU is going to invest in their program. I think that would be a great fit. I think it would be a great fit. And if he goes there, don't be surprised. If he ended up, don't be surprised he ends up at Texas Tech either. That wouldn't surprise me at all because they'll probably pay. What about Southern Cal? Wouldn't surprise me there. Lots of different possibilities. And of course, there's always a chance he could end up playing football in the SEC. Maybe Auburn. Maybe it's Tennessee. All kinds of different programs it could be. But college football has a place for Dylan Edwards across the board. And I think he's as fascinating a player that's going to enter the portal as there is. And to me, again, he is the player that kicks off this whole thing. We're now closing in on the midway point in the month of November. We're 3-4 weeks out from kind of the playoff rankings being based 4 weeks out from the playoff rankings being done after the championship weekend. Once that happens, it's the games, and then it's just the portal, the bowl games in between. We'll have some decent bowl games, but kind of giving up on those because most kids don't care about them anymore, sadly. Dylan Edwards, he's the kickoff point. Who do you want to see your team go after and why? Give me a position, give me a thought on it. But right now, there are a lot of different teams that are probably thinking, you know what, we could probably use Dylan Edwards. Troy says, those Florida schools just cannot lock down the state in recruiting outside of money. The players have no reason to go there, and coaching is better everywhere but Florida, Florida State, and Miami. Troy, you're not wrong. That state, like right now, Billy Napier's fired at UF. I don't know when Norvell is going to get fired, but I assume it's going to be at the end of the season. I don't know. I'm up in the air on that. And then Mario Cristobal has been outcoached a number of times, and he really struggles when his team is a double-digit favorite. It's just true. So the state of Florida is in flux. And don't be surprised if Alex Golesh, the head coach at USF, he was a part of the staff at Tennessee that came up from UCF. He's coached at both those schools. Now he's at USF, excuse me. Maybe he ends up at Florida. Maybe he ends up at Florida State. Who knows? Like the coaching carousel is really wild. So Troy, thank you very much for the comment. And if anybody's got anything they want to add on the coaching side, I'm always open to coaching commentary. Let me just pontificate a bit on this. Let me go over the list real quick. Here are the coaching carousel commentary points that need to be mentioned first. Penn State's open. Florida is open. LSU is open. Auburn is open. Those are all big boy jobs. Dealing with boosters more than you want by a long shot. Dealing with NIL more than you want. It's part of the package. But your recruiting base is really good at all those places. The resources, pretty darn good at all four of those as well. And there are more opportunities too. Oklahoma State, they got some resources there. The right guy goes there, you could be pretty successful at Oklahoma State. Oregon State's open. Colorado State's open. We don't know how many different jobs are going to eventually open its gates. Florida State, maybe. NC State, maybe. Don't forget about Virginia Tech. It's open too. All of these jobs make it interesting to see if Florida State comes open. To see if another job in the SEC, Kentucky could, but they owe a ton of money and like within 60 days or something. I'm not sure Stoops is going anywhere. How many more jobs? Dave Aranda at Baylor? All these jobs make it intriguing for an Alex Golesh. John Sumrall over at Tulane. Don't forget about the rebound now. What about a certain guy that was just in Happy Valley that got canned after being ranked in the top 2 in the country? 2.5 weeks later, he was fired. Like James Franklin was sitting on top of the world and he was unemployed. College football is wacky, which makes the portal. It makes recruiting. It makes NIL even wackier too. College football is truly, truly bizarre. So we'll see how it goes over the next couple of weeks. But the firings, they absolutely impact the transfer portal because kids pick coaches far more often than they pick schools. I say that all the time right here on the Portal Podcast, as well as Locked On Seminoles, the other show I run, and it's always going to be true. Here's another comment for Troy. Which job do you think is the best for early success? That's a great question. Well, I like Grunkmeyer quite a bit at Penn State, but I don't know who's going to stay there. I don't know their roster quite as well, but they've recruited defense pretty good. They hire the right coach. That's 8-4 minimum first year. Florida depends on DJ. Let's look at it this way. I would take Penn State year one over Florida just because DJ Lagway is just a turnover machine right now. He's not seeing the field very well. No, it can't just be called a sophomore slump. That makes me a little leery. So I'll put them at the bottom for year one, but long-term, the Florida job is tremendous. Auburn, let's talk about that for a second. If Deuce Knight stays, he's the true freshman quarterback. That's a tremendous job. You got Cam Coleman there. Singleton, I think, will be back. Maybe he's not, but we'll see. The receiver, Malcolm Simmons, Jeremiah Cobb. They got Morris Williams and a bunch of good defensive players. That's top 10 defense, in my opinion, in college football, no doubt. Year one, Auburn could be really good. Don't be shocked if they hire the right coach, if that's a team that's like 9-1 going into that off-week game before they play Bama next year in Tuscaloosa. Wouldn't shock me. But at the same time, if they hire the wrong coach and Deuce leaves, I don't know. There's also the possibility that Ashton Daniels, depending on what they do this week, when they play Mercer before they play Alabama at the end, if he redshirts, he could be back too. So the Auburn job is intriguing. That one might intrigue me as much as any outside of maybe Missouri. The Missouri job and Auburn are the two at the top of my board for this offseason. But overall, if I had to just pick one for next year, I'm going to LSU, and I'm going to go for a couple of reasons. One, they've got a ton of talent at the skill spots on offense. I know you're shocked by that. Trey Green, tight end, is ridiculous. Barry, the receiver, running back, athlete, freakazoid that is labeled as a running back. I saw him the first time I saw him when he was a freshman in high school. He was playing receiver. And I'm like, he's better than anybody here. As a freshman at a 7-on-7 tournament in Lafayette, Louisiana, I'm like, who is this guy? Tremendous. Loved him. They're going to break out. They still got Caden Durham. They've got all those young offensive linemen. They got either 4 or 5 offensive linemen back for next year. Look out. If Michael Van Buren's the guy or somebody else, that, again, it's quarterback. It's iffy. But if quarterback's just above average, if they got a JAG plus, that's a 9-win team just right off the bat. Then it gets down to fine-tuning on defense. They got DJ Pickett. He's another one of the guys I've known since 8th grade. Dude, they have a Dominic McKinley young man on the defensive line, though. He's got to take that next step. He was a second-year player this year. He needs to take that next step next year. And that maybe they get a portal guy or two, front seven. They're going to lose some good guys. I think, does Whit Weeks have another year, or is he going to leave? That's something else. Somebody might have to answer that for me. But right now, year one, Auburn intrigues me the most. Penn State's possibility. I think Florida is the hardest to figure out because of DJ Lagway. LSU's the one I would bet on out of those because the skill talent on offense is gross. They've got Pickett. They've got Dominic McKinley. I like Van Buren. I need to see how he grows chemistry-wise with the LSU, but man, just a few portal additions. LSU, like minimum, should win 9 games next year. First-year coaches, there's always something that comes up and you get bit by somebody that you shouldn't. New systems and all that. I get it. But it would have surprised me if in year one LSU went to the playoff. No, not in the least. Personally, I think the Florida job long-term is safer because the state is in less flux. Like the governor's involved with the LSU and all that. That makes me nervous. But that team short-term, if you just want to hit right away, if I was a head coach and I had the option, LSU's one I would take because I think they've got the most roster ability of anybody. To the end, I appreciate everybody stopping in. We're going to do one of these every day. I had to do a little later today. I apologize for those who stopped in expecting to be at noon. I was on another show, so I set it up for 12:15. But we'll be back on schedule, 12 noon Eastern, each day this week, talking recruits, decommitments, transfer portal, coaching news, and just everything that's kind of going along it's a lot of fun. So Troy just says I was one of the few people that thought Cignetti would leave Indiana for Penn State. The way he recruits the portal and the way he also recruits top 10 classes, that would have been monstrous. Yeah, if Cignetti went to Penn State, they'd have turned that around pretty quick. That guy can coach 100%. Very well done. Troy, stop back in, man, anytime. Love to have you here on the show. Thank you to everybody that stopped in. We will see you again soon right here on the Portal Podcast.